So if you haven't heard about the Resident Evil 2 remake leaks, then you probably have a life and don't spend all your time looking at video game news like I do. I mean, to be fair, I'm a few days late, maybe like 4 or 5 days late, but you know, to give you a gist of the parts I don't care about, the graphics are going to be fucking amazing apparently. They're going to be like on par with God of War. If you haven't seen God of War yet, again, you probably have a life and don't look at video games all the time. But go look at God of War on the PlayStation 4 really quickly and then come back to this. Resident Evil 2 is going to look fucking amazing. You know, somebody who's a huge fan of specifically Resident Evil 2, you know, this is one of the first games I've ever played, basically. I cannot wait for that shit. They're doing something with the engine. It's the same engine from RE7, but they're doing something with the lighting or the shadows or something. So the game will probably look scarier aesthetically. And RE7 was pretty scary. I mean, on a scale of 1 to the most scary out of the 7 games, it's probably like right there with Remake, if not scarier than Remake in my opinion. So yeah, that's cool. We're gonna get a reveal at E3, which you know, all of us, you're probably highly anticipating. It's probably going to solidify if we're buying it or not for a lot of us if they show gameplay. But the one thing that really stood out to me in the article about the leaks was the fact that the remake for RE2 is going to have a Resident Evil 4, a stylized Resident Evil 4 perspective, which to me, that means it's going to have the Resident Evil 6 camera. I don't know why they couldn't just say that. Maybe it will be different, but you know, Resident Evil 6 basically has a stylized version of the Resident Evil 4 camera. Now, the reason this stood out to me is because, in my opinion, this leaves only 3 outcomes for the game. 1, the game is going to be entirely too easy. I don't think I need to spell out why this camera angle is going to make Resident Evil 2 easy. If you've ever played Resident Evil 4, you know that if all of those enemies were walking instead of that light jog that they do or throwing shit at you, the game would be too easy. Like, you would just be running through everywhere. You wouldn't even feel the need to shoot anyone if they were just walking and not throwing shit at you. And then, you know, to add on to that, with the game being too easy, if you look at Resident Evil 4, maybe like chapters 4-3 forward, it's been a while since I've played that section of RE4. But once you get to the military area, the bullshit, the bullshit meter, it just spikes into bullshit. The difficulty of the game, it's like something about it just gets bullshit hard. I don't want that to happen in the remake. I don't want it to be too easy, and I don't want it to have these artificial difficulty spikes where they're just throwing like hordes of enemies at you. Like that's not what classic Resident Evil was. It's not about getting from point A to B shooting as many enemies as possible. No, so the second outcome for this remake is that the game will just be boring. Like, over-the-shoulder gameplay in a classic Resident Evil game, there's a reason the action is never really emphasized in classic Resident Evils. It's never emphasized because that's not the main point of the game. You know, these games are designed so that you can go through Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, hell, you could probably go through Resident Evil 4 like this too, and barely kill anyone. Compared to the amount of enemies in the game, you could barely kill anyone and still beat the game. So, you know, I don't want to see the game just be an over the shoulder shooter either, with it being either too easy or just boring. It's gonna feel very generic. To get onto my last point really quick, the best outcome for the remake is going to be they introduce a lot of different enemy types. And this was the most interesting thing I thought about, because if you go back and look at Resident Evil 2, there's only 3 types of enemies if you don't include the bosses. You have zombies, you have dogs, and you have lickers. I'd like to see them introduce some new enemy types. That would be really fucking interesting. It would basically be an instant purchase in my mind. If at the E3 reveal they show new enemy types, yeah, I'm buying the game for sure. Like I said, you only have zombies, dogs, and lickers. In a third-person perspective, like over the shoulder, zombies aren't going to be an issue. Like, even if they make them bullet sponges, you can still just run around them. It's going to be way too easy to run around them. Dogs, too. Like, I mean, I could show you gameplay right now of Resident Evil 4 dogs. Like, you know, you do the little hedge maze. You don't even have to fight the dogs. You just run through. It's too easy. And then with lickers, I imagine they're going to be designed similar to either Resident Evil 5 lickers or Resident Evil 7, the four-legged molded guys. And I wouldn't really mind that because it would be really cool to see like lickers when they're attacking you, like jumping off of walls and doing all this extra shit. But at the same time, it's like you can't make them too OP. You know, they're not gonna make Leon from Resident Evil 2 or Claire from Resident Evil 2. You're not gonna be like RE4 Leon throwing out roundhouses and suplexing people. So it's a weird position they're in with this game where they're in position to fuck it up so badly while at the same time being able to give us exactly what we want in a classic style Resident Evil game. So that's really all I have to say about it. I'll link the article for the leaks down below if you haven't seen them yet. So yeah, check that out. And hopefully this remake is as good as we all want it to be. Of course it won't be. We're in this era right now where, you know, if something is slightly off about something we like, we're going to tear it to shit. It's so easy for us to do that over the internet. But that's a topic for a whole other video. So yeah, I'm just gonna say thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys look out for my next video. Subscribe if you haven't. I mean, you probably haven't because this is my first video and I have 0 subscribers, but